All right, so we're gonna quickly set up our postcard. So first thing I wanna do is I wanna make sure I'm in Photoshop. So I open it, go to Photoshop, then I'm gonna go to File, and I'm gonna create a new document. So my new document, so I'm gonna go to, I like to be on my print right here. And so I'm gonna say, oh, actually it's gonna be six inches by 8 inches. Gotta make sure it says inches and not pixels. I'm gonna change the top here to say postcard. Right, and I usually put my initials at the end, so I did an underscore and then put my initials. And my resolution, 300 is what we want to print with, but since it's just going to be on the screen, so I'm not printing them, I'm just going to type 150, and that just gives me a little bit higher resolution than a normal screen, but not quite enough to be printable at 300 dpi. Then I'm going to click create. All right, so I have my basic page. So I want to split my page up into two sections. So I have a front page and a back page. So I'm going to click view and I'm going to go to my rulers. You could also hit control R. So I'm going to click rulers and I'm going to drag down a ruler by clicking on the bar and dragging it down and going and locking it at halfway between 8, which is 4. So I'm going to do that one more time. So I'm going to go up to the top here, view. I'm going to go to rulers. So click on rulers. And once I have my rulers, I'm actually going to click right on my bar. So I'm going to click right on my bar right here. So clicking and I'm holding and I'm dragging down a ruler. And I'm going to let go at 4 inches. All right, so that gives me my front of my postcard and my back of my postcard. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a layer. So I'm going to put some lines on my page, and I need to have my lines on a new layer so that I can move them and turn them off when I want. So I'm going to come down here to the bottom of my layers panel. So I'm in my layers panel. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to click the layer button. All right, it gives me a new layer. I'm going to rename it. So I double click where it says layer 1, double click, and I'm going to type in lines and hit enter. So I have lines. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find my line tool. So you can hit your U key and that finds the tool in the toolbar for us. And what I'm going to do is right click and I want line tool. All right. I could have held down shift and gone through all my different tools, but right clicking on it is very simple. So I just click line tool. And next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to my options bar, which is right at the top of your screen underneath your menu bar. So I come up here and I see where it says shape. I'm going to change that to pixels. You don't have to change it to pixels, but if we leave it as shape, it'll create a layer that's just a shape layer. And sometimes it's a little bit easier to just have it as pixels so you don't have to rasterize or do anything special to it if you want to edit it. So I click on pixels. Now I'm going to change my weight from 1 pixel to 3 pixels. And that's all that is saying that I'm have a little bit heavier line. So I'm going to hit enter after that. So I have a 3 pixel line, and now I just want to choose my color. I don't want this yellow. I'm just going to click X, or I can click on this black and white. So I'm going to click X, I mean D. So I can click D, or I'm going to click on the black and white, and it gives me my black line. So I'm going to come, I don't want it to be right in the middle, but I don't want it to be all the way off to the right. So I'm going to come partially a little bit off center, and I'm going to click. And right now I'm not holding my shift, but I'm going to hold down my shift key and to keep my line at 90 degrees, and then I'm going to let go. All right, so that's my first line. I also want to do some lines for my address as well. So I'm going to click right here and I'm going to drag across. So I have one line right there. I'm going to click underneath it, drag across, 2 lines, and I'm going to do one more, 3 lines. All right, so I have my 3 lines. I can clean that up by using my rectangle marquee and just coming over to the edge. So I got a little bit of each of those lines, and I'm just going to hit delete. That straightens up my left side, my right side. Next, so I'm going to click over here, hit delete. So now I have nice even lines. If one of the lines isn't quite where I want, I can just put a rectangle around it, go to my move tool, and just tab it down till I feel it's equal. All right, so I could have done that with my shape tool, and if I would have done it with my shape tool, I would have also been able to align them automatically and distribute the values. But the pixels, like I said, it's a little bit easier and nicer to use pixels sometimes because I can just quickly erase something if I want to, right? So this is our postcard. So next thing you're going to do is add in your photo, do your type, write your letter, add a stamp, and add an address, and you're done. And then save it as a Photoshop document first, and then save again as a JPEG and submit the JPEG to Canvas. So I hope that's helpful. All right.